In a world driven by constant change and rising stress, understanding your emotions is more important than ever. Emotional intelligence, the ability to recognize, manage, and understand emotions, starts with knowing yourself. It's about becoming aware of your thoughts, triggers, and emotional patterns so you can respond to life's challenges with clarity and confidence. We'll explore how emotional intelligence helps you build self-awareness, regulate emotions, and make better decisions, ultimately leading to a more fulfilling and authentic life. Today we will talk about emotional intelligence, how to understand yourself better. So before we start, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. In an age where academic performance, job titles, and technological prowess are heavily emphasized, the subtler but profoundly important trait of emotional intelligence, EI, often gets overlooked. Yet, emotional intelligence is the key to not only understanding others, but, more importantly, understanding ourselves. At its essence, emotional intelligence refers to the ability to recognize, understand, manage, and effectively use our own emotions as well as the emotions of others. While social relationships benefit enormously from high EI, the most foundational benefit lies in developing self-understanding. A person who understands their emotions, thoughts, motivations, and behavioral patterns is better equipped to make rational decisions, handle stress, form meaningful connections, and live an authentic, fulfilled life. What is emotional intelligence? Emotional intelligence is a psychological concept popularized by Daniel Goleman in the 1990s. He broke EI into 5 main components: self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Among these, self-awareness is considered the cornerstone. Without it, the other components are hard to access or improve. EI differs from cognitive intelligence, IQ, in that it deals not with logical reasoning or analytical thinking, but with how well one can perceive, interpret, and manage emotions. It includes recognizing the emotional climate of a situation, understanding why you or someone else feels a certain way, and making informed decisions that take emotions into account rather than ignoring them or being controlled by them. Emotional intelligence is not static. It's a learnable skill, which means that with practice, one can significantly improve it over time. The role of self-awareness in understanding yourself. Understanding yourself starts with emotional self-awareness, which involves the ability to identify your emotions in real time and to recognize their impact on your behavior, thoughts, and decisions. Many people go through life unaware of their emotional triggers or automatic reactions. They might find themselves suddenly angry, withdrawn, defensive, or overwhelmed without knowing why. This lack of awareness can create confusion, lead to unhealthy patterns, and harm relationships. Self-awareness helps you pause and reflect rather than react impulsively. It also allows you to evaluate your strengths and weaknesses honestly. For instance, someone who is emotionally self-aware can notice a feeling of irritation during a conversation and recognize that it stems from feeling misunderstood rather than lashing out or shutting down. Building an emotional vocabulary. One of the most effective ways to enhance emotional intelligence is by developing a rich emotional vocabulary. Emotions are not binary, happy or sad, angry or calm, but exist on a vast spectrum. Mislabeling emotions leads to poor emotional regulation. For example, you may feel angry, but upon closer inspection, the feeling might be betrayal, disappointment, fear, or humiliation. These are very different emotions that require different coping strategies. Tools like the Plutchik's Wheel of Emotions or the Feelings Wheel can help individuals identify the root emotion. Journaling regularly about your emotional experiences can further refine your awareness and emotional vocabulary, allowing you to describe your inner world with greater accuracy and insight. The importance of emotional triggers. Another vital aspect of understanding yourself is identifying emotional triggers. Triggers are experiences, words, behaviors, or memories that provoke intense emotional reactions, often rooted in past trauma, unresolved conflicts, or unmet needs. These can be positive or negative, but in the context of emotional intelligence, we often focus on negative triggers such as criticism, rejection, failure, or abandonment. Becoming aware of what triggers you helps you understand why certain situations affect you so strongly and enables you to respond more mindfully rather than reacting out of habit or fear. This understanding also promotes compassion towards yourself and others, acknowledging that emotions are often shaped by a deeper history. Mindfulness and self-reflection. One of the most effective techniques for enhancing self-awareness and emotional intelligence is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of paying attention to the present moment without judgment. It trains you to become an observer of your thoughts and emotions, rather than being swept away by them. Through practices like meditation, deep breathing, or simply pausing and checking in with yourself, mindfulness increases your ability to stay present, notice emotional shifts, and make thoughtful choices. Combined with self-reflection, where you intentionally examine your reactions, thoughts, and emotional responses after a situation, mindfulness becomes a powerful tool for developing emotional maturity. Regular reflection questions such as, why did I react that way? What was I really feeling? And what could I do differently next time? Help you internalize lessons and foster self-growth. Understanding emotional patterns and behavioral cycles. Over time, emotional intelligence helps you recognize patterns in your emotional life. You might begin to see that you often feel anxious before deadlines, defensive in conflict, or withdrawn when you feel overwhelmed. These emotional patterns often drive behavioral cycles, habitual ways of acting based on repeated emotional experiences. Breaking unhealthy cycles begins with understanding the emotion behind them. For example, procrastination may not be a time management issue, but a fear of failure or perfectionism. People who feel emotionally out of control often experience recurring problems in relationships, work, and personal goals. Emotional intelligence empowers you to disrupt these cycles by addressing their emotional roots rather than merely the behavioral symptoms. Regulating your emotions. Once you're aware of your emotions, the next step is learning how to regulate them effectively. This doesn't mean suppressing or denying feelings. It means managing them in a healthy, productive way. Techniques for emotional regulation include cognitive strategies like reframing, which involves looking at a situation from a different perspective, as well as physical techniques like deep breathing, progressive muscle relaxation, or even exercise to release pent-up tension. Emotional regulation also involves delaying impulsive responses, setting boundaries, and knowing when to express or withhold emotional information. For instance, when you feel a surge of anger in a meeting, emotional intelligence helps you stay calm, gather your thoughts, and respond diplomatically rather than explosively. The interplay of thoughts, emotions, and behavior. A deeper understanding of yourself also involves examining the interplay between thoughts, emotions, and behavior. This triad forms the core of the cognitive behavioral therapy (CBT) approach, which highlights how our thoughts influence our emotions, which then shape our actions. Negative self-talk, irrational beliefs, or unchallenged assumptions often lead to emotional disturbances. For example, thinking I always fail after a mistake may lead to hopelessness, which then results in withdrawal or giving up. By becoming aware of these thought patterns, you can begin to challenge them, replace them with more balanced thinking, and improve your emotional health. Emotionally intelligent individuals are skilled in identifying cognitive distortions and reframing them constructively. The role of motivation and core values. Another often overlooked part of emotional intelligence is intrinsic motivation, the drive that comes from within rather than from external rewards. Understanding what truly motivates you requires introspection and emotional honesty. What gives you a sense of purpose? What kind of work or relationships bring fulfillment rather than stress or resentment? Aligning your goals and actions with your core values creates emotional harmony and reduces inner conflict. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please give it the thumbs up. Leave a comment and click the button to subscribe.